be an app, but let me see. Let's try this again. It's just not gonna be as crisp. Alright. Let's try again, y'all. Hopefully it works out. This looks a little better. I am like using it from my phone. Please, Jesus. Y'all gotta pray with me. Because I want to be live so bad. I just feel like it's something special about being live that is not the same when you are, you know, pre-recorded. It's just nice to know like what that person is doing at that time. So thank you all for joining back again. I appreciate it. Let me know, like, how's the connection doing? I really want to be live, but obviously if it doesn't work out, I'll just have to pre-record. It's gonna hurt my heart, but maybe I can do it anyway. Welcome back to my channel, y'all. As you can see, like I said, I'm at the beach trying to have a good time, and I did have a really, really good time. Except, you know, like I mentioned before, my mom would not let me try my swimming skills in the water. And I don't play when it comes to parents. Like, when they say don't do something and then you do it, then, man, I don't play that, because the next thing I know, I'll be out here hurt or doing something crazy going on, all because I didn't listen. My butt should have listened to the first place. So, yeah, I'm too old for her to tell me, you know, not to do stuff, but I gotta listen. I just gotta listen. All right, I'm gonna get off my phone. So again, y'all let me know how the internet connection is going on y'all, and hopefully it is going well. All right, so I wanted to bring this to our attention because obviously, like you all, I watch a lot of YouTube stuff about hair and everything. Also, let me know if I'm loud enough. I'm trying to talk over the water, so hopefully it's working. But I watch a lot of hair stuff, and I did watch this one video that I talked about in my last live, where the ladies on it were kind of saying, basically they were saying having natural hair is easier than having locks. Now, come on, because I'm locked. So, like, you know, don't come at us like that. Like, I just cannot accept that as being a thing. So, yeah, I disagree completely. But at the same time, I also feel like it's a preference thing. I think it's a preference thing with everything. But you know what? Let's compare natural hair to locks. Let's just compare them both, and you make your own decision. But I think that you cannot make a decision if you're not educated. You got to be educated enough to make the decision. So thank you so much for joining. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, you enjoyed what we're about to talk about, and yeah, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And hopefully you enjoyed this video, y'all. I'm sitting on a rock. The rock next to me is the only dry rock out here. Every other rock is wet. So I have my purse on a dry rock, but like, as you know, it gets later in the day, the tide comes in more strong, so my feet are totally getting wet. So if you see any surprised faces, it's because the water is wetting up my little feet. All right, let's talk first and foremost. I just wrote down some things to consider, right? Some things to think about if you want to talk about which one is better or which one is worse. All right, so firstly, let's talk about wash days and compare them. And I'm going to try to be as absolutely fair as possible, you know, because I am locked now. So obviously I'm partial to locks, but again, you need to be educated so that you kind of have your own idea about what you think about them and how you feel about them. All right, so wash day. What I can say is that for natural hair, wash day is wash day. Like, it's going to take you all day for the most part to go through all the things that you have to do when you're washing your natural hair. And it's going to take you even longer if your hair is super curly like mine. I have type 4C hair. Like, I have extremely curly hair. I don't know if y'all can see, but like, I don't know if y'all can see, but like, look, the curl there is like so tight and so curly. So I really, really always have to baby my hair. So wash day means that I gotta be gentle. I have to take my time because I don't want to break off my hair. I don't want to break any curls or damage anything, all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, wash day is wash day when you have natural hair. You have to wash it. Sometimes you gotta pre-poo it, right, to kind of make it a little more pliable, make it a little more soft. And then after you do all of that, you wanna wash it, pre-poo it, detangle it, condition it, detangle it, you know, however your kind of routine is, but you have to condition, you have to detangle, and then depending on your style, if you're gonna go the absolute healthy route, you are going to maybe air dry, which means now your hair is taking all day to air dry. But many times we do things like 2-strand twist or bantu knot, something that you cannot take out until it is dry, because if you take it out too early, it's not necessarily going to be exactly what you want it to be. So yeah, so that's how wash day goes for natural hair. For locks, it's a little different, because for locks, you are washing it for sure. Pre-poo is not as important, but I mean, you can if you want, but it's not as important. So for locks, you're just gonna wash it. And for those of us that don't use conditioner, you don't have to condition. So you're really done after your wash. If you have mature locks and you feel like your locks are maybe feeling a little dry, or you want to make them a little more pliable, then you are going to condition your locks. Woo, thank you, Lord, for covering the sun. Just gonna get a little bit of shade. Yeah, so that is how your wash day goes when you have conditioner in. Just making sure, y'all, that I'm still good. Y'all let me know, how am I doing? How's it coming across? Hopefully you're getting everything and not missing anything. But yeah, so if you have locks, you're washing it. You may or may not condition. It kind of depends on your stage of your locks. And because when you have starter locks, you're not conditioning too much, because you don't want to undo what you're trying to do, which is to get it to lock. So you don't want to undo it. So yeah, that's how your wash goes for locks. And then with locks, you kind of can air dry. I prefer a dryer, only because I at least using a dryer sometimes, just so that your hair doesn't, you know, you don't want mildew to build up in your hair. And if your locks don't dry all the way, that is something that can happen. You can have actual mildew inside of your lock just from it not drying all the way. So yeah, so that's the difference. So when it comes to locks, you don't have to do like a twist out or bantu knot unless you just want that style. But many of us with natural hair, I feel like the ocean is so loud. Many of us with natural hair, we kind of do things to kind of stretch it out, especially if it's curly. So we kind of do a lot of different things to our hair to kind of stretch it out for us. So yeah, that's the difference between locks and natural hair. With natural hair, you're going to do a shampoo and maybe even a pre-poo. You're going to wash it a few times. You're going to condition it. You have to detangle. And for me, that detangling part is the hardest part. Like, detangling is the hardest part for me, because you have to be gentle. The curlier your hair, the more you have to be gentle. So with locks, you don't have to be as gentle with because you're not detangling. Now you do have to separate your locks. You do gotta like pull them apart and make sure they're not marrying in the root and all that fun stuff. But you do not have to detangle it like you have to do your natural hair. So that's the difference there. I think the biggest difference is detangling and then what you have to do afterwards. Because most people with natural hair, we do not let our natural hair just air dry. Like, we're usually going to do something to it, whether it is condition it or whether it is detangling it, but we're usually going to do something to it. Let me move this up some, because the water definitely got on my little baby. So hold on. Move that up, and then I'm going to move up too. Because like I said, the tide is coming in, y'all. It's coming in. All right. So, let's see, what else did I want to talk about as far as the hair goes? Style, something about a little bit about style. So, when it comes to styling your natural hair, like I said, most times for natural hair, you have to style it. And when it comes to locks, many times you don't have to style it. Like, you could choose for your locks to be, you could choose for your locks to just kind of dry naturally and be natural and all that fun stuff, you could choose for your locks to be that way. So when it comes to styling your locks versus styling your natural hair, y'all, maybe I'm not high enough. The water is not playing with me. When it comes to styling it, you kind of have to style your natural hair a little bit more than you do locks. And most times, if people do like a bantu knot or two-strand twist on their, but you don't have to. So you have more days where you get to just wake up and kind of go when you have locks that you might not have with natural hair. All right, let me just check and make sure you all are good. Yeah, so as far as styling, that's good. But what I do want to point out is the bigger your locks are, sorry. Okay. The bigger your locks are, I don't want to say your styles are limited, but the look of it is limited. So obviously if you have chunky locks, nice, beautiful, thick, juicy locks, and you do like a roller set or bantu knots, obviously because your locks, you only have but so many locks, it might look a little spacey, and I'm not saying nothing's wrong with it because I think it's still beautiful. I love thick locks, but obviously with more or rather less locks, because they're so thick, your style just looks a little different. So you can't expect to do like a curly style and expect your hair to always look as full. And by full, I just mean like when you have loose natural hair and you do like a curly style, your hair looks like one, right? Like when you put all your curls together, they look like one. Like you look like one. But when you have chunky locks or thick locks, when you do something like bantu knots or twist out and things, obviously people can see your locks because they're all separate pieces. So when you do your curl and stuff, it looks like separate pieces. So you might want to decide on whether or not you want thick locks or small locks. And that's something that kind of helped me make my decision, because I wanted it all to look like one, and I wanted to always switch up my part and it still be full either way. But if you have like thick locks and say you want to do a side part, then maybe that side will be a little thin because it's only got like maybe, let's say 6 locks on this side and then all the rest are on that side. Versus if you have micro locks and stuff like that, then obviously you don't even know how many locks you got on this side when you do like a big heavy side part or something like that. So as far as styling, you can still do all the styles with both natural hair and locks. The only difference is the look. Like the look does look a little different depending on the size of your locks. If they're like really big and really, really juicy, then it's different. Let's also talk about maintenance, because this is something that seems to be a big deciding factor, but it's also something that people try to use to say one is better than the other. So let's talk maintenance. Now, first and foremost, let me say this, because I hear the opposite, which I don't like either. Let me say that you can maintain your locks by yourself and you can maintain your natural hair by yourself. Now, this is coming from a stylist. I do hair, I love all things hair, and I do all kinds of things, you know, to different people's hair, and I enjoy it. So by no means am I promoting you to do it by yourself, because obviously, right, who would come to me if everybody does it themselves? But I absolutely am all for somebody learning how to do their hair themselves. Like I have quite a few clients whose hair I do, and I show them different things and talk to them about different things, just to make sure that if they want to do the style themselves, that they can do the style themselves. And I'm not really one of those stylists that's kind of like, oh no, you have to come back to me so that I could do it, and if you don't come back to me, it's not going to be right. That's not true. Now, locks are new to a lot of people, but natural hair was new to a lot of people. Like, having natural hair was new to a lot of people. It's still new to a lot of people. And I think we really have to take the time to learn whatever type of hair you have. If you have locks, take the time to learn about your locks, how to take care of them, moisturize them, maintain them yourself. Or if you're going to go to a stylist, but take the time to learn what is best for you. But same thing with natural hair. If you have natural hair, take the time to understand your curl, understand how to care for your hair, what products are best, what styles are best, low tension styles, what's a high tension style for you, what does certain styles do to your hair. Like, both of them takes you educating yourself for you to see the best results. So as far as maintenance, you can maintain locks yourself, you just have to learn how. You can maintain your natural hair yourself, you just have to learn how. And that's why we have these beautiful things like YouTube and stuff to help us know how to maintain it. Hey, Shades of Sage, thank you, girl. Let me know, how's the internet working? Because I'm using the internet on my phone, so hopefully it's not going in and out for you all. That would really stink. But yeah, you absolutely can learn how to do both, but do that. Learn how to do both, because you don't want to be dependent on your hairstylist. And I see so many videos about people talking about hairstylists that stood them up or was supposed to do their hair and then for whatever reason couldn't, because they're human too. Things come up for them too. They got families, they have life, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, so you know, be considerate, but at the same time, not all stylists are considerate of their clients. So that's why you should learn how to do this yourself, and you know, well enough to where it can get you by. You know, you can get by doing your own hair. Whew. I hope this don't mess up my iPad, y'all, because the water is not playing. I'm about to stand up. But yeah, so when it comes to maintenance, okay, so for locks, you have to do your retwist and you have to do your retie. When it comes to natural hair, you have to do the regular maintenance of just washing it and styling it. You know, refreshing it, washing it, styling it, that regular maintenance. And give me a moment, because I think I'm going to stand y'all up, because if the water splash on my iPad one more time, Jesus, it's not going to be good for me. So hold on. Let me stand y'all up. And let's see how that works out. I'm just going to get my purse up, because that part that I told y'all was so, the part that I told you guys was dry is definitely starting to get wet because the water's getting higher. Okay, so maintenance. So like I said, locks, you have to retwist and you have to retie. But the good thing is, when your locks get more matured, it is up to you when you want to do a retwist and when you want to do a retie. It is only when you're fresh with locks that you have to decide, that you have to be a little more on top of things. But as your locks get matured, it's more and more your choice. So that's good. So when you're new, you do have to maintain your locks like every 6 to 8 weeks, or 6 to 8 weeks. You have to. When you're new, you do have to maintain your locks every 6 to 8 weeks. A retie obviously takes longer than a retwist. So doing an interlocking takes you longer, and a retie takes longer, but the retwist is not as long. But both of them is still like a 5-hour process that I'm talking about from start to finish, like washing your hair all the way up to shampooing your hair. Like both of them is a process nonetheless. But when you have to do a wash day for natural hair, it is, like I said, a whole day. So the difference that I can say is a difference between the two is that for natural hair, you have to refresh your hair most times about 2 weeks. Most times for natural hair. And if you don't, then you're going to spend some time maybe with your hair not looking the best. But with locks, you have to refresh your hair 6 to 8 weeks, which means now you get a month or two where you don't have to worry about your hair. You really don't, especially if you're interlocking. So you got a week or two before you worry about your hair. But when you do have to worry about your hair, especially for those of us with micro locks, it is still going to take you a few hours. So it's kind of like deciding, do you want to take a few hours every 2 weeks, or do you want to take a few hours every 6 to 8 weeks? And then the good thing about locks is that even though 6 to 8 weeks, in between that time, you virtually don't have to do anything to your hair unless you just want to. And you might have to do things like moisturize it, that type of thing. But other than that, not really. But with natural hair, many times your style, sometimes, not all the time, but many times your style has to be refreshed more often, be it every other day or, like I said, every 2 weeks. So your natural hairstyle for the week or whatever usually has to be refreshed sometimes throughout the week. and then sometimes it can last you, you know, for the 2 weeks, depending on what you're doing. So that's a little bit of difference there. Let's also talk about growth. So when it comes to growth, if we're talking about growth with natural hair and growth with locks, there is no difference. Obviously your hair is going to continue to grow, and I still have to read that book with you all, that natural hair book, to kind of, you know, tell you all a little bit about it. But when it comes to natural hair and locks, your hair still grows. So if your hair is used to growing half an inch every month, it's going to grow the same when it's locked. If your hair is used to growing half an inch every month, it's going to grow the same when you have natural hair. So the growth is the same. Obviously, the difference with locks is that it's a low manipulation style. So it's kind of like having a protective style all the time. So with your locks, you're able to see your growth. And that's one thing that I wish I had tracked better when I had natural hair. I wish I had tracked better my new growth, like how fast did my hair really grow. It was hard to track that with my natural hair unless I did something like a protective style and then measured the new growth. But I find that with my locks that my hair actually grows faster than I thought that it did. It actually does grow faster than I thought that it did, but I can only see that with the locks. So I would say a little advice to all of you lovely ladies with natural hair, to really take the time, if you can, like take a good 2 or 3 months to really see how fast does your hair grow. Like how long does it take you to get an inch of growth, or how long does it take you to get a half an inch of growth, because that will kind of tell you whether or not you're retaining your growth. So as in, like I said, when I was natural, it was kind of hard to see, but being having locks, I could see it better, and it let me know that I wasn't doing as good as maybe I would have liked to do when I was natural with retaining my growth, because my hair does grow faster than I thought, even though it's extremely curly, but it does. And I wish I had to like use that time better, or kind of notice that a little better when I had natural hair. Let's see, so growth is the same, but with the locks, obviously it's low manipulation, so you don't got to worry about your ends breaking off as much. It takes a lot for you to break off locks, but it can be done. So that brings me to my next point. If you're talking about TLC, right, like loving on your hair, you have to love on locks and natural hair, but I can't really say whether or not one is easier, but there is a difference on what do you do. I guess, like, what is your routine? But you need to have a routine, and I think that's why locks got such a bad rep in the beginning, because people did not really, I don't think people knew enough about their locks to honestly care for it as much as they should have cared for it. But locks do still need care. Like, I hear a lot of people say their locks are dry, or, you know me, I'm always talking about my scalp is dry. Like, I have to do a better job on finding out what does my scalp really want, so that I can make sure that I'm giving it to it. But both your natural hair and your locks need love. They do need you to love on them. They do need you to be patient. They both need you to kind of learn what it is you need to do to them, so that they both can really blossom and really grow. I can say though that for me, if your hair, the curlier your hair is, the more you have to be gentle and the more you have to baby it. So for me, being a 4C curly girl, I needed to baby my hair a lot. And I was realizing that more and more towards the end of my natural hair journey, that I had to baby it. And that is something that made me want to get locks, because I was seeing how much my hair wanted to be babied, like how much it blossomed more if I just took my time with detangling it, or if I really stuck to a routine or really conditioned it and just gave it all the kind of love and care that it really wanted. And so for me, having locks, I still have to give my hair care, but it's not as much care. I don't have to be as gentle with my hair because it's locked and it's in a style that makes it stronger. Obviously, you know, having, let's say there's 60 strands in this one lock, having 60 strands come together is stronger than just one strand on its own. Trying to not break that off or mess up my curl is easier. So I could play with my hair a little bit more because it's locked, whereas where I was natural, I couldn't play with it as much because it was so curly, and I know that every bend and every curl in it was vulnerable. So I had to really, really, really be careful. So when it comes to TLC, locks need TLC, natural hair needs TLC. The curlier your natural hair, if you're like me, you really, really have to baby it. Or if you have really fine hair, if your strands are fine, you have to baby them too because they're so prone to breakage. And locks are not as prone to breakage, but they are prone to things like thinning, having an inconsistent lock all the way down. And some of that comes from maintenance. Some of that comes with not keeping up on your reties, not keeping up on your retwist. That will have an effect on your locks, and that will cause it to not be as healthy and as strong as you need it to be. But yeah, let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to mention. So we talked about washing. Like I said, if you were talking about locks and natural hair compared to washing, with washing natural hair, it's usually a whole wash day. Like you gotta block that whole day out and take your time and love on your hair and really refresh it and give it what it needs. Whereas locks, you really are just, your main concern is the washing and conditioning if needed, and then honestly you can let it air dry and for the most part be okay, or sit under a dryer and your hair is still done. With natural hair, you have to refresh your hair many times every 2 weeks, and I'm talking about those that wear their natural hair out. If you do protective styles, or if you use like scarves or wigs or something like that to cover up your hair, obviously you might not have to refresh it every 2 weeks because you're covering it. But I'm talking about those that like to wear their natural hair out. You usually have to refresh yours, wash it, condition it, detangle it every 2 weeks. Whereas with locks, even if you do wash it and that type of thing, you might be able to just let it be after your wash and just let it air dry. So that makes it just a tad bit easier. And then as far as redoing a style, locks hold styles. That's something too, is when I do like bantu knots or curl formers or something on my locks, it holds the curl really, really well. And it's not as susceptible to losing its curl as the day goes on, or as if moisture is in the air, like it's not susceptible to like puffing up and all the things that natural hair is kind of susceptible to. So your curls and locks, they hold a lot better. So that is a good thing too about locks. And then growth, like I said, growth is the same. Your hair is going to grow. It's going to grow. It's just up to you to maintain that length. With locks, it's a little better because it's like keeping it in a protective style. So it allows you to see the growth a little bit more. But with natural hair, if you are manipulating it way too much, then you might be cutting off or breaking off your ends at the same rate that it's growing. And that's why many of us saw like plateaus or see plateaus in our natural hair journey where our hair stays the same length. And it is because of things like, you know, just not being gentle enough to see the actual growth. But it's still growing. So locks and natural hair, your hair is still growing. You just have to learn kind of how to do it. And when it comes to maintaining your hair, locks and natural hair can both be maintained yourself. You can maintain both of them yourself. You just have to learn. Like, you have to learn what does your hair like, what is the best wash routine for you, the best wash schedule for you, the best oil for you, or conditioner, shampoo. And once you learn those things and you kind of use those things consistently, you will see that your hair flourishes so much more. But whether you have locks or natural hair, do not ignore your hair. Do not ignore your hair. And I know a lot of us have routines. Like I had a routine being natural. I had a routine having locks. We have routines of when we want to do our hair, but I would say my biggest advice is give your hair whatever it says it wants. If you're not supposed to wash your hair for another week, but your hair is acting like it needs to be washed, or you feel like your hair really, really wants to be wet and refreshed, wet it and refresh it. And sometimes that means losing your style. But honestly, you would have the healthiest hair if you give into it. If you give it exactly what it is that it wants. And that's for locks and that is for natural hair. So I think I kind of touched on everything I can. There's definitely pros and cons to both of them. I would say my biggest thing is whatever you have, whether you have locks, whether you have natural hair, whatever it is that you have, take the time to really, really learn your hair, and not just what you see people on YouTube do. Take the time to learn your hair. What does your hair like? What does your hair agree with? Those products, those methods, those routines, and baby your hair. Honestly, baby it, love on it, you know, and it will honestly start to look a lot better and be a lot healthier. Do I think that natural hair is easier than locks? No. Do I think that locks are easier than natural hair? No. I think I used to, but I don't anymore. I think there's pros and cons to both, and you just have to see what works for you, what works with your lifestyle, what works with your schedule, what works with, you know, how you want to wear your hair, how you want to style your hair, and also what works with your personality. You know, does locks work with your personality or not? You just have to learn what works for you, but I don't think that anyone is easier than the other. But I do think, y'all, if you get nothing else from this video, just learn your hair. Learn your hair, learn what it loves, and then give it what it loves. Stick to a routine. Find the products that it loves, stick to a routine. But even if your hair is calling for something that's outside of your routine, do it. Don't not do it just because it's not time, it's not scheduled. Do what your hair wants you to do, and you will see a lot of good results from it. So I hope that you all enjoyed this video. Don't forget the thumbs up. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. I really hope that the internet was good for you all. I hope that you have a good weekend. I hope to see you all soon. Hopefully, like I said, I will come back and do the back to school hairstyles for you all. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope to see you in the next one. And until next time, adios.